At the top of Mount Fuji, a lonely stage 4 cancer patient struggles with freezing conditions. He has no winter clothing or safety equipment. He ignores multiple warnings to turn back, and a mysterious voice can be heard saying, "Don't come." Determined to live life to the fullest, Tetsu Shiohara live streams his climb. But his viewers can hardly imagine what they are about to witness. Harshly criticized online, Tetsu Shiohara was a lost soul. He lived alone in a small apartment on the island of Shikoku. At 47 years old, some describe him as a Ronin student, meaning a drifter or wandering man. Others describe him as a humble and determined learner. After studying in America, Tetsu returned to Japan and failed several attempts to pass his bar exam. In comparison, his parents were valued members of society, with his father employed as a local professor. These problems caused Tetsu to become even more reclusive, despite already having a distant relationship with his family and no friends. His lack of social interaction is likely why Tetsu, as he was known online, began live streaming in 2015. Around this time, Tetsu took up mountain climbing as a hobby and announced his intentions to compete in biathlons. Despite being a struggling student, he never complained about his circumstances during his streams. He loved speaking with his viewers and was generous with his time. Out of his regular viewers, one in particular stands out: an attractive woman called Sawatan, who also broadcasted lifestyle videos. She was friendly with Tetsu, and the two would interact online. In 2017, he accepted an offer to climb Mount Fuji with Sawatan, and they completed the climb together. It's unclear if the two ever met in person again, but Sawatan kept in touch via his live streams and encouraged him to keep climbing. Tetsu also broadcasted his daily activities, including commuting to his hospital appointments. As a stage 4 colon cancer patient, he only had 7% survival odds. He was unemployed and received financial support from his parents. Approaching 50 with no real prospects, it's hard to say what his mental state was leading up to the events of October 2019. But he probably wanted to make up for lost time and felt he had nothing to lose. This might be why Tetsu became a regular climber of Japan's tallest mountain, Mount Fuji, a national symbol of Japan. Tetsu reached its summit every summer season. Legends say the spirit goddess of Sakuya Hime protects and lives on the mountain. Discussions online even suggest the goddess took notice of Tetsu's presence in the events to come. Standing at 12,389 feet, Fuji's hiking season runs from July to mid-September. This is when weather conditions and its popular trails make it one of the most visited mountains in the world. Climbing outside this window without permission from authorities is strictly forbidden. Ice and snow make climbing its slopes dangerous for professionals, let alone the general public. Compared to other mountains, Fuji is well developed and welcoming to beginners. Its trails have 10 rest points where climbers can sleep, buy hot food, and access first aid stations. There are even paved trails to the 5th station midway up the mountain, where the trails become less urban. Despite its relative safety, there are still accidents, as hundreds of rescues and around 10 fatalities occur every year. The mountain huts only offer short-term protection, making sudden weather changes dangerous. Hypothermia is another risk. Temperatures at the summit are below freezing, even in the summer months. One experienced hiker recalls facing these challenges.
I was in excellent shape. However, I was unprepared. I expected Fuji to be easy. That all changes when you get freezing sideways rain with 40 miles per hour gusts. The wind chill meant it was around 20. My gear was inadequate. I got altitude sickness and became hypothermic, hallucinating in a mountain hut with purple lips and low oxygen saturation. I got caught out by a sudden typhoon. Triple check the weather. Listen to locals and over-prepare.
All these risks are clearly stated on the official mountain website. It has recommendations for gear, planning, and frequent weather reports. In short, there's no excuse for climbers to enter unprepared. With all that said, Tetsu safely completed a climb of Mount Fuji on the 7th of September 2019. This was 3 days before off-season weather turned the mountain trails into a much different challenge. If later events are to go by, Tetsu likely ignored official advice, ascending and descending the mountain in a single day. By this point, he'd climbed Fuji several times for at least 4 years without incident. The summer conditions mean he had no winter climbing experience. It's also unknown if he owned proper outdoor clothing. What is certain, however, is that Tetsu had no technical climbing skills. They aren't required to complete a climb of the trails in the summer, so Tetsu never learned them. A month later, he broadcasted his commute home from a hospital appointment. A live stream viewer mentioned they'd like to see the view from Mount Fuji in the winter. Well, if it were now, it probably wouldn't be that cold. It's probably -3 or -4. It's the top of the mountain, so I'll just go there quickly. I'll move forward without dying. I won't even feel cold. The fact that Tetsu mentions dying means he knows how dangerous climbing Fuji is out of season. It saw its first snowcap just a day earlier, and temperatures were already well below freezing at the summit. Viewers thought he was joking, but a seed had been planted in his mind. Perhaps he felt like he had nothing better to do. Maybe his close encounter with death made him reckless. Or was he in denial of the danger he was placing himself in? Whatever the case, Tetsu Shiohara found himself planning to hike the 35th tallest mountain on Earth in near winter conditions. Officially, the trails are closed from the 5th station onwards outside of the summer season for the general public, so he wouldn't have access to mountain huts for food or rest, nor could he purchase supplies like oxygen and clothing. He'd be alone. Only approved climbers are allowed to reach Fuji's summit in the off-season. Despite these preparations, people die on the mountain's winter slopes yearly, and if a daredevil chooses to ignore the danger, no one will stop them. With gradients at the summit as steep as 35 degrees in places, Fuji's well-maintained paths became ice rinks. At a minimum, crampons were needed to provide grip. Equally, trekking poles with snow baskets help mountaineers with balance and traction. Finally, an ice axe is essential to perform a life-saving self-arrest maneuver. Without ropes, it is the only way to stop an uncontrolled slip and save climbers from sliding off a mountain. A group of climbers struggled to reach the summit of Mount Fuji in the same month as Tetsu's planned climb.
The mountain is deceiving. The lower mountain has no snow and pleasant weather. Routes are easy to see and follow. Once hitting the ice, it's a different mountain. The kind of stuff that if you fall without spikes or an axe, you're not going to stop. I saw about 10 people up there as well. Everyone had the appropriate gear, but some were still having a hard time with altitude and exertion. If you've never climbed with an axe or crampon, stay away.
It's under this pretext that Tetsu, an amateur outdoor enthusiast, heads to Mount Fuji. He sets off early for Tokyo on the 28th of October. This would take him to the 5th station, where he joined the most popular Yoshida Trail. He plans to start hiking in mid-morning, reaching the summit as quickly as possible, and then descend the mountain on the same day. But something seems off with Tetsu. With a difficult task ahead, he feels scared as he realizes he's the only passenger left on the bus. He also posts that he feels sick and wants to go home. At 10:30, he reaches the 5th station and starts his live broadcast. Let's go to snowy Mount Fuji. Tetsu mentions the top of his ears are cold, suggesting he's not wearing a hat. His gloves aren't wind or waterproof, and his choices of casual jeans, light hiking boots, and a fleece jacket aren't much better. To complete his kit is a pair of ordinary hiking poles and his trusty phone, allowing him to live stream the climb. At 10:42, he enters the Yoshida Trail, ignoring clear warnings that it's closed. The air is misty. Clouds hang low in the atmosphere. The terrain is moist and damp. But it isn't causing Tetsu problems. Yet. Still, the idea of death plays on Tetsu's mind. It's almost as if he's having second thoughts.
死んでも知りませんよ。パッと登ってパッと帰ろうもん。
Tetsu plans to reduce the typical 10-hour round trip to just over 6 hours by completing a rapid climb of the mountain. It was tight timing, and he knew he'd be returning in darkness. Why then didn't he bring a head or handheld torch just in case? Was he planning to rely on his phone? Strangely, he even comments on how he should avoid areas of snow because he's inexperienced. It's my first time, and it's a bit too challenging to summit a mountain at this time of year. It's my own fault. I'm not a seasoned veteran, and I don't have one here either. I'll try not to die. I think I'll be able to come back, so let's go. Even if I die, I won't know. The rest is at your own risk. Tetsu climbs over another warning sign and continues to head towards the snow-capped mountain anyway. Less than 30 minutes into his climb, he's already hungry. He passes a collapsed section of trail and claims he left an energy bar at home to be lighter for the climb. He's also breathing more heavily. The altitude is clearly having an effect. He has the comments from his live stream playing out loud, so a woman's voice can be heard responding to him. She asks him about crampons, and he admits he forgot to bring them.
入ってないな。山入ってないな。
As if trying to convince himself, he yet again plays it off as if it's not a problem and continues his mission to reach the top of the mountain. Shortly after, Tetsu reaches the 6th station and sees that the mountain huts are closed. He tells his viewers, outside of mountain climbing, snow is the only thing that's easy to climb. He also comments that he'll have no food, so he'll have to drink his frozen cold green tea. As a seasoned Mount Fuji climber, he must have known that the huts were closed, so why wasn't Tetsu better prepared? He's also behind schedule. Reaching the summit by 2 p.m. is crucial, or else he won't only be walking from the 5th station to the bus in darkness. Instead, it'll be a descent on icy slopes in pitch black with only a phone torch to guide his path. As he breaks free of the low cloud, Tetsu looks up the mountain. Snow covers the area closest to the summit. The sun is out, and there are clear skies. Sweating, he wants to get to the snow as quickly as possible. He reaches the 7th station at 11:35 and hears someone's voice. Shortly after, he comes across a man and a woman on the trail.
Hi, how are you doing? Alright. Yeah. And you? No? Why not?
I don't think we have time for this. We are not prepared.
His breathing is much heavier now. He's 1,000 meters below the summit, and there are only 5 hours of sunlight left. He's still determined to complete a round trip of the mountain, and all this without food or time to rest. After wishing Tetsu good luck, the pair head to safety and the base below. He likewise makes his way, only towards danger in the ice above. As more ice and snow cover the path, Tetsu's hunger gets worse. He's been up since the early morning, and all he has in his bag is tea. Mountaineers can burn 700 calories an hour, even more in extreme conditions. He again tells his viewers that it would be better if it were snowing, as he'd be moving faster. Once more, as if he were trying to convince himself, he contradicts this belief with the following.
雪あったはいいけど、降りられないかこれ。まあいいや、行く？滑るな、多分な。
By 1:19 p.m., Tetsu reaches the 8th station. He's completely alone, and the trail is covered in snow. From here, the mountain looks increasingly like a skiing resort. The guardrail and ropeways are covered by at least several feet of snow. He already comments that he's slipping on the surface.
あ、滑る。滑るな。多少。
Not to be deterred, he still has confidence in his outdoor
いや
abilities.
ね。でも山頂まで行けちゃうと思うよ。
It's another world compared to the trail only 50 or 60 meters below. At 1:50 p.m., the trail is almost unwalkable without the right gear. It's completely exposed. There's nothing to grab onto if he slipped. The only sign of a path is from human footprints walking down in the opposite direction. Tetsu suffers from a lack of oxygen and stronger winds. The frozen snow has also created a very narrow walkable path. One wrong step and he would be in serious trouble. It's already unclear how Tetsu could safely descend the mountain, and he's yet to reach its most dangerous sections. Ignoring these risks, he continues on his mission. By now, it's 2:15. The path is barely visible, and Tetsu is walking along at least 30-degree slopes. He battles with the winds and is starting to lose feeling in his fingers. He's also unclear if he's even on the right path.
手が危ないかな、指が危ないかな、かじかんできた。そろそろ。
After a few minutes, he reaches the path around the summit and is happy that he made it before 3 p.m. It's a hollow victory. My fingers are numb, almost no feeling. This is bad. Continuing along the path, he tries to warm his fingers, but can't. In these circumstances, frostbite can set in as little as 30 minutes. But Tetsu is so obsessed with live streaming that he continues to take off his gloves to check his phone for the rest of his hike. He tells himself he must hurry up and ignore a final chance to seek shelter and possibly call for help at the final station on his route. The paths along the summit are covered by more than 3 feet of snow in places. This means Tetsu has to climb over frozen snowdrifts with only loose rocks to steady himself. He will mention slipping, being careful not to slip or that the ground is slippery every 30 seconds. His fingers go from being numb to painful. The wind gets worse the more exposed he becomes. In places, the ropeways are the only thing keeping him upright. It's obvious the conditions are too much for Tetsu, and he's worried, but he still seems to think he'll finish the round trip as planned. And on the way down, be careful not to fall. He follows the path for another 4 minutes, complaining that the pain in his fingers is worse. This is where a so-called ghost of the mountain whispers a single word. Heard carrying with the wind is the word konaide, meaning don't come. Could it be that even the goddess Sakuya Jaime was warning Tetsu to turn back? He's now at the steepest slopes on the path so far. To the left is a sheer drop without much runoff, and the ropeway protecting him from it is coming to an end. As he looks ahead, it appears like the path is beginning to descend. He can barely maintain balance on the frozen ground beneath him as it is. To show you how bad the conditions were, this is what the ground Tetsu was standing on looked like in the summer. Chris White, an experienced mountaineer, put it this way.
If you do slip, you'll have at most one chance to self-arrest. If you miss that, you're probably taking a highly injurious or fatal one-way trip down the mountain.
As he approaches the end of the ropeway, Tetsu nearly falls over on the ice. He laughs it off. A few seconds later, he slips again. This time, he's right at the end of the ropeway. It's dangerous. Wait a minute. Shockingly, he pauses to take a photo, despite having freezing fingers and nearly falling twice. He's beyond the safety of the ropeway and standing on solid ice. There's nothing to hold on to. As he edges forward, he notes the steepness of the slope. Tetsu warns, dangerous here too. It's a bit slippery.
斜面、滑る。うわ。
Tetsu slipped near the summit around 2:30 p.m. The stream was still live, shutting off when his phone hit a rock. There was nothing to hold, and he didn't know how to stop a slide, so he picked up speed until he fell from the mountain's edge. Fortunately, Tetsu's parents were at one stage watching his live stream, but left around 10 minutes before. It's also possible that his friend Sawatan could have been the female voice talking to him for most of the climb. Members of his live stream contacted police to let them know what happened, and a search began. For 2 days, a team of rescue workers in a helicopter looked for Tetsu. 2 days later, at 1:40 p.m., a body was found just below the 7th station of the Subashiri Trail. The face was so damaged that it was impossible to determine a gender, and the lower half of the body was missing. A backpack found nearby also had nothing they could use to find its identity. But the police suspected it was Tetsu Shiohara. Their hunch was officially confirmed 13 days later. Tetsu had fallen 2,300 feet or 700 meters, only coming to a stop when his body crashed into the ground at high speed. There is still online debate about his intentions on October 28th. At its core, Tetsu's story is a reminder that bravery and recklessness often run hand in hand. The challenge of Mount Fuji was more than a physical pursuit. It was a search for motivation and meaning. It was also a rare place where Tetsu found recognition and connection with others. If the internet is to be believed, he even ignored divine intervention, mistakes that claimed his life. Watch this episode next if you found this video interesting. Please add a like and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.